Let's check on these worms and see what's going on. So I did put plastic back over the side of the bin where I got the new leaf material. And this is also where we did our feeding last time. So let's just take a quick peek at that. Lots of worm activity going on in here. But there should be a lot more worms because I'm trying to bait them over. So let's just take a look inside this area where I'm trying to get the worms out of. See how many we got left in there. So we can still see quite a few worms in this spot. Like this spot right here, pulled up a little clump where there's some paper and stuff. And you can see all the worms that were just sitting here chewing on that paper. So let's get some of them moved over along with that paper. And I'm going to set up a baiting area over here and then do a new feeding in this section. Now we had a lot of worms last time, or we added a lot of leaves last time, but they are already quickly kind of breaking down all that leaf matter. So I'm going to let this feeding be a little bit wetter than normal. I have it right out of the blender. And this is a combination of banana peels, potato skins, lime peels, and orange peels. And to that we'll also add some cornmeal, a little bit of grit in the form of powdered eggshell, and that'll take care of the feeding side. Now another thing I'd like to point out too is this bin was been kind of wet, so I put that leaf matter in dry. You can see it's soaking up a lot of the moisture, and these leaves that are in here are definitely not dry anymore. They're not wet, but they're certainly not dry. Alright, so for my baiting area, I'm just going to use one of these flower pots. And to that, I'm going to add some spinach that was frozen and thawed, along with some sweet potatoes. These are just leftovers from dinner. Now I will need to check on my baiting spot here within just a couple days so I can try to capture the worms that make their way up into this and then move them over here. Well, I will put a little bit of the castings on top of the food just so that we don't get any bugs or something getting into there. Now over here in the marinara bin, I put the bubble wrap back on top. This is where we did our feeding along with all those leaves and stuff I added in. So let's just kind of check on that real quick. Yeah, worms are getting busy over there. I did go ahead and harvest the castings from this side, and I just put more leaf matter, and I made sure I wet the leaves down real well this time. So you can see there's worm activity in here, and this is where I'm going to actually do the feeding, I think. I'm going to go ahead and just dump this in, along with a little bit of the spinach that's left over, and the rest of the sweet potatoes. And some of the cornmeal. Okay, that should keep them going for another week. I will just cover this back up. And we'll call this feeding done. Well, in a couple of days, I'll check on that other flower pot. It's been a couple of days since we baited the worms. So let's go and take a look and see if there's any worms to move over. We have a nice cluster of worms sitting right beneath where the pot was at. You can see we got like a worm ball going on. So I'm just going to pick up those worms and move them over to the other side where I want them to stay. And here you can see there's like another little worm ball underneath the first one. Yeah, I just keep finding more and more worms underneath. Let's look on the bottom of the bait bucket to see if there's any that made it through the holes and were inside. So it looks like we have a few dozen that made it through the holes and were chewing on the food. So we'll get them over to the other side. Then we can reload the flower pot for another round. I have a few more stragglers to move over. So we'll get them out of the way. Since there's still food on the bottom, all I really need to do is put some fresh castings on the top to cover that food up. And I can check on in a few days and see if there's some more worms to move over. With that done, I can put the flower pot back in place, and we'll see you on the next one.